Our next speaker is David Archer, who is a business development manager at Dexion System Services. Dexion System Services, or DSS, develops and implements warehouse management systems, WMS, and warehouse control systems, WCS, for small to medium-sized businesses. It is now with great pleasure that I welcome your next speaker, David Archer.
Thanks for the introduction, Dan. At Dexion System Services, we develop and implement and support warehouse management system, also known as WMS, for the medium-sized and the small businesses, as well as warehouse control systems. So what we do in our company, basically, we can come to your environment, observe all the activities you do in your warehouse, talk about the challenges you have, observe your processes, follow the staff, talk to the management, talk to the middle management, to the senior management, find out what's the best solution for your company. Based on that, we design the solution for you guys, come and implement the solution, train the entire staff, management, the users, as well as the RFID scanner operators. And then we'll be at your site, making sure the site is running smooth for the first 2 weeks of the go live, and you will have full access to the support afterwards. As you can see, we can help you with the mechanization and automation of your warehouse, and also from an integration perspective, we can talk to pretty much any sort of ERP in the market, starting from SAP and NetSuite and Pronto and MYOB, as well as the host systems such as normally in the e-commerce platforms such as Shopify and Magento and so on. And also we can integrate our solution to TMS and carrier platforms. So whether it is Australia Post or Star Trek and so on and so forth. So without further ado, I'll jump onto the agenda. So we will be talking about WMS versus ERP, what these two systems can do, the WMS potential savings very briefly, and jump onto the main subject, which is top 6 warehouse challenges and how WMS can improve them. And if possible, we will do a very quick demo of our solution. And finally, we will have a Q&A session. If somebody wants to approach me, I'll have my contact details there. You're more than welcome to click on a button and request a demo so we can come to your environment, depending on the availability, or do a remote demo of the solution and discuss your business requirements. So where we're going to start here is that WMS versus ERP host. ERP, or your accounting package, is developed around financial perspectives of the business, planning, purchasing, and whereas warehouse management solution is wrapped around all the transactions, all the movements you do within the 4 walls of the warehouse, without having to worry about what's happening in the office, what's happening in the outside world. So what we care about is the storage, the inventory, the movements of all the stock you have in the warehouse, how you receive them, how you put them away, how you pick them, and how you dispatch them. So the advantages of a WMS versus ERP is that with the WMS, anything that you do, any item that you pick, you put away, you dispatch, you would have access to real-time information within a split second. So that information can be then uploaded automatically into your accounting package or your tool host system. So that makes it easy for the management or the support staff in your business to have access to, as well as uploading the data on your host system in your website if you're doing online sales, for instance. Or you can give access to your salespeople so they know exactly how many of a specific SKU you have in the warehouse and if they can sell them or not. The second item is the process improvements. And as I said, so an ERP has got access to a whole heap of information and how your business runs. But when it comes to the warehouse, basically ERP does not have much control of what happens in the warehouse. From a system perspective, ERP knows that you have purchased an item or you have sold an item and you need to deliver it or you need to receive it into the warehouse. But how you receive it, where you put it, who puts it where, how you pick it, which area do you pick from, how you split the orders, when you pick an order, and all this very granular information or the management of the transactions and movements in the warehouse, the ERP in most of the cases cannot handle that. The other factor is inventory optimizations. So basically, we know where everything should be. We have all the movements of the warehouse. Likewise, in the ERP, you have all that information about how many of an item you've basically sold. But in the WMS, we know how many times we have approached the peak phase. Then the last item, but not the least, is that a WMS is an executional tool, whereas ERP is mainly a financial tool. We care about how we move stock around the warehouse, how we store them, how we touch them. Okay, so a couple of potential savings of WMS. Basically, you can have up to 15% in receiving. That's a very conservative number. You can have 10 to 15% improvement in dispatch. You can have up to 30% improvement in put away. You can have up to 30% improvement in replenishment, as well as the picking. So picking could be between 20 to 40% improvement in picking. And the last but not the least, almost 90% improvement in stock take. Or you can also just remove the stock take process from your warehousing operation, because your system is managing and knows where everything is and is 100% accurate. Now, we're going to now jump into the actual demo. I've just got a figure here. So if we have a very conservative 10% reduction in your operational cost in a warehouse with 1 million operational cost per year, that 10% can be equal to $100,000 per year. Now, warehouse challenges: inventory, relying on the staff memory, time wastage, which is always a very big factor in how the business operates. So all these transactions between the warehouse and the office, inability to implement or enforce internal procedures, as well as inefficiencies in all tasks and warehouse working environment. So the first item, no proper tracking of stock. So if you don't have a good idea of how many stock on hand of a specific SKU you have, where they are, what's their status, whether they are available for sale or on quarantine hold, or for whatever reason you don't want to sell them, you would be ending up in a lot of troubles. For instance, you could be wasting a lot of time just floor searching and then afterwards updating your ERP all the time in your warehouse. You could be losing sales, or on the other hand, get to the stage that you cannot fulfill the orders, and as a result, the order can go back on back order. So you have to do the process again for a simple order. So you have to pay for the postage or the dispatch, as well as the picking and consignment fees and all that again. Then you're going to carry more stock than you need, because if you don't trust the system, you always have to carry more stock than you need. That ends up with the big problem in your cash flow. That means that having a 10% extra stock in the warehouse, if you have $5 million worth of stock in the warehouse, that 10% extra stock is going to be 500 grand, which is going to impact your cash flow. And on the other hand, you're going to have a discrepancy between ERP and host. You cannot sell, again, back to points 1, 2, and 3, basically. Now, the second item is that if you don't have a system that can manage all the processes and all the transactions in the warehouse, even though the system that you're using, your accounting package or your ERP, might know, you have a certain amount of stock, you might still have to rely on staff memory and knowledge. So this is a very common challenge in most of the warehouses, where somebody in your operation knows pretty much where the stock is and where something has been put and what's the status of such and such order. And these are the information that do not get transferred to your ERP or accounting package. So what we want to achieve is that a WMS can help you know at any moment in time what's happening to an order, what's happening to a purchase order, what's happening to a box, what's happening to a specific item, who was the last person who touched it, what happened to that item, and so on and so forth. So basically, what we do is that we take all that away from your staff. Your staff coming to work, not working 9 to 5. They don't need to know everything about your business. All they need to do is to follow the bouncing ball. If they have a day off for whatever reason, that's not going to affect your operation because it's a system-driven procedure and you don't have to rely on any individual. And then also you can remotely access your WMS and see how the warehouse is doing. If as a senior manager, you want to have a very helicopter view of what's happening in your environment. Now, it can improve accountability. So there's going to be less finger pointing because everybody knows that whatever I'm doing, the management has got access to that. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to be scary for the staff because they're going to appreciate the fact that you know what they're doing and how much effort they're putting into the warehouse. It's just adding that accountability towards the staff that they know that if they have made a mistake, we can rectify that. We can look into the mistake and see what happened and what was the reason behind the mistake. But on the other hand, you're going to have a much better working environment that we will come back to. On the other hand, we can reduce training time in some cases from 1 day to even half an hour, depending how your warehouse is set up. So if you're bringing casuals into your warehouse, or you're going to bring some person new to your warehouse operations, all you need to do basically is simply show them how to navigate around the warehouse. So you show them rack A, rack B, rack C, and the rest is easy because you just teach them your task today or your task forever is going to be picking. When you're picking, just follow the instructions on the RF scanner and do not worry about anything else. So all they are doing is that getting trained on how to do a scan, getting trained on how to react to the prompts on the screen, and the rest is simply following the bouncing ball. Now, on the other hand, as I said, I'll come back to that point in the end, which is improving the working environment because we don't have to think, we don't have to judge, we don't have to remember anything. It's just we just follow the bouncing ball and the system will direct us. Now, the third item, as I said previously, is very important factor. That's what has been neglected in most of the businesses because the warehouse can master what they're doing and the office can do a perfect job just managing the sales and purchases and all the admin work. But what we see in most of the businesses, no matter how big or small they are, is that the correlation is lost between the warehouse and the office, which is a very important factor. So what happens is that everything happening in the warehouse, the office necessarily doesn't know about it, and they have to pass on the paper or just tell somebody what has happened to such order. And all that information in between is lost. So there's going to be a lot of time wasted between the warehouse and office. So they have to walk into the office, ask for a question or just how to do this, or here is the order of pick, here's my initial. So imagine in a very busy warehouse, the amount of transactions between the office and the warehouse is going to be a lot more and more. And that's going to be wasting the warehouse's staff time as well as the admin people time. But yeah, they are doing their own jobs. That transaction between the warehouse and the office is going to be really taking a lot of time, and the mistakes can happen. So as you can see, the correlation between the office and warehouse is paramount in the supply chain, and the WMS can take that away. Anything you do in the warehouse is available to the admin staff, to the management. They don't need to walk out of the office and enter the warehouse. Likewise, the warehouse people do not necessarily have to do that. So all that information, all the movements, everything that has been picked or put away or relocated is available at your fingertips without having to talk to anybody. So we need less interaction in the warehouse. WMS is going to do that. Less data entry. Anything you do in the warehouse would be straight away available in your accounting package. Less paperwork. Of course, we have to consider that factor because it's cost and also the damage to the environment, and less errors. So I've seen many warehouses where they have a picky slip, for instance, and then they put the initials there and the time and what happened to an order if there was a back order. So you might write number 8. Somebody else might see number 3. My name is David Archer, so I might put David DA as my initials. Another picker could be in the warehouse called, Peter Archer, and then he puts PA, and it's always warehouse guys writing their names in a rush, and office people are like, is it a DA or a PA? Just to give you an idea. And as you can see, I've just put a little bit of a cartoon there. Sometimes the staff are pushing for their own orders. So they want to get the orders done, and salespeople normally can put urgent on every order that belongs to the client just to make the client happy. Anyway, so fourth item is inability to implement or enforce internal procedures. So that's very critical again. So whatever rules you have around the warehouse, basically the system is unforgiving. So if you want to work around the software, most of the times you cannot do anything. So the software will stop you, and that's how you learn to follow the procedures. Remember, we talked about following the bouncing ball. It's not just making it easy for the operators. Yes, it's going to make it easy for the operators, but on the other hand, they have to follow the procedure step by step, and they cannot find a workaround. So if the system says, look, you have to take this item from this location, for instance, and drop it in such and such dispatch location, or kitting location, or manufacturing line, and so on and so forth, you have to follow the way the system is designed to work. So you cannot trick the system in most of the cases. So that improves the way your internal procedures are implemented in the warehouse. Now, again, processes based on efficiency and best practice. This is in advance before you implement the solution. You have had all the discussions. You've decided how is the system going to work best for you, and then the system is designed to do that. So again, staff just follow the bouncing ball, and then you will get the efficiency that you need. And yeah, obviously the business rules are built into the processes in advance before you go live. Now, inefficiencies in all warehouses and operational tasks. So a lot of inefficiencies happen because of double handling, or just wasting time somewhere, or not using the time properly. Imagine, for instance, if you're doing a put away, you have received a full pallet, and you can put that pallet away, and on the way back to put away another pallet, imagine if your system allowed you to do a full pick. So if you had a full pallet pick, you could put away a pallet, you can bring another pallet. So in one run, instead of going and putting away a pallet and coming back and putting away another pallet, you can go and put away a pallet. On the way back to dispatch, you can bring the full pallet into the dispatch zone, go to receiving, put another pallet away, bring another pallet down. So that basically means that in one transaction, in one trip, you can do two tasks, one put away and then one picking. But anything you do within the warehouse, the main warehouse tasks, in receiving, put away, picking, you can improve the efficiencies that we just previously discussed. It's all about reducing the time, reducing the amount of touch points of the stuff you do, and then getting specific tasks to specific people. So one person can be doing all day just picking, another person could be just packing, another person could be just dispatching. So that is basically improving the amount of activities you can do within the 60 minutes per hour that you have. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next slide. Again, working environment. So we have a full solid audit trail within the WMS. We know who touched what at what time and what happened to it. Where did it start? Where did it go? And even anything in between. So if you pick an order from a pick phase, an item, you put it in a box and you scan the box, and halfway through nothing happens, we know that box is in transit. We know it's been picked from such and such location, but hasn't been placed in dispatch or in your staging area. So we have full control of what's happening and what needs to be done in the future. All they need to do, follow the bouncing ball. That makes their life a lot less stressful. They don't have to worry about anything. They just follow the instructions, and that improves the working environment. That will make them sure they can show up for the work next day. They don't have to worry about anything. And that was the end of the presentation. So what I'd like you to do is that ask yourself, how much time and resources are you wasting in your operation? How good is your stock accuracy? Do you have a concern that you depend too much on your staff? Can they take 10 days off, for instance, or is it going to affect your operation? Can you take 10 days off just without having to worry about your warehouse? Is your warehouse in line with the office? Does everybody have access to the related information they should have access to? And do your staff follow the internal procedures? Do you have a system just make sure everybody's doing the right thing? Do you have access to real-time information? And would you like to implement best practice? If you do, I suggest we can have a follow-up chat. You can click on the link or go to Dexion System Services website or shoot me an email or call me back. I'll be more than happy to come to your environment if possible, or basically do a remote demo of the solution for you guys, so you would have less and less hesitation jumping into a WMS. We will be by your side at every step of the way. Beginning from the first time we meet, we try to understand your business requirements. We want to make sure that you have a smooth transition from a paper-based system into a paperless system. Thanks a lot. I hope you have a good day. Thank you.